Good morning, friends. Happy Monday. Hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. We are now back to school, and friends, we officially have 19 days until Christmas break. So that's exciting. You guys know Miss Greathouse loves a good countdown, and I'm super excited for Christmas. I hope you guys are excited for Christmas. So let's get into our reading lesson for today. So you guys know that we have been learning all about our community. So not last week because we only had 2 days, but the week before that, we learned all about the different jobs in a community, like a firefighter, a baker, a librarian, all those different things. This week, we're going to talk about all the different buildings in a community and what they are made of. So let's talk about the first part of that question. All the different buildings in a community. So those could be things like houses, an apartment complex, a grocery store, a church, a movie theater, a mall. So all those different things or places that you go to, a school. So all those different places are buildings, right? So they have a building that you go inside of. So you have all those different buildings in your community. But then the second question said what they are made of. So let's think about that. Some houses or buildings are made of brick, some are made of wood, some are made of concrete. So you have all these different materials or things that buildings could be made out of. So today we're going to read a book about some bears and their house, okay? And they're going to call their house a hut. So that could be another building is a hut, right? So we're going to read about that, and we're going to talk about their hut and what their hut was made of. And then we're also going to work on retelling today. So remember, when you retell a story, you include the characters, so who the story is about, the setting, where the story took place, and the events. So the events are just what happened in a story. So we're going to go ahead and head on over and read our book, and then we'll come back to our essential question, which is about buildings, and then we will talk about retelling. So I'm going to head on over to our story so we can get started reading. Okay, friends, so here is our story for today, and it is called Cubs in a Hut. All right, and if we look at our front cover of our story, we can see 3 bear cubs, and one has tools. One looks like they have a wagon with some mud in it, and one has some wood. So maybe they are working on building this hut in the background. So that's going to be my prediction for what this story is about, is that the bears are working on building a hut in this background. And remember, a prediction is just what you think is going to happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and read on to find out. Cubs in a hut. Here we go. Let's make a hut, said Gus. We could use mud, said Russ. It will be fun, said Bud. The Cubs had a plan. Bud got a big stack of sticks. Russ and Gus got mud and grass. Okay, friends, so it appears that my prediction was correct. They are going to build a hut. And look, here is their plan for building their hut. And I want you guys to remember this because I'm going to talk about their plan and writing a little bit today. So remember that. So they decided to make a hut and they started to get their supplies. The Cubs did a very good job. Let's move in, yelled Russ. Yes, yes, yelled Bud and Gus. The Cubs set up rugs and beds. They filled up the hut with lots of stuff. Let's keep reading. Then, one night, 3 cubs got up. Drip, drip, drip. My bed is wet, yelled Bud. My head is wet, yelled Gus. It's not fun to live in a wet hut, yelled Russ. Okay, friends, so it appears that it's raining outside and it's leaking into their hut. That's not very fun. We must fix it, said Bud. It will not drip on us, said Gus. We will not get wet, said Russ. So look, they took some tools and some wood up and it looks like they were trying to fix the leak. It is good to live in a dry hut. 3 cubs are snug as bugs in a rug. Okay, friends, so that is the end of our story. So first, let's talk about their building. So they built a hut, remember? So they built a hut for them to live in. And remember, they did have a slight problem. They had a leak, but they fixed it. So their building was a hut, okay? And so let's go back and look at our story to find out what the building was made out of, because that's our other essential question. So the building they made in their community in this story was a hut. So let's go back and look to find out what their hut was made out of. Okay, friends. Here we go. Excuse me. Okay, so let's reread these first 2 pages. Let's make a hut, said Gus. We could use mud, said Russ. It will be fun, said Bud. The cubs had a plan. Bud got a big stack of sticks. Russ and Gus got mud and grass. Okay, so Bud got a big stack of sticks. So here's his sticks. So it looks like they used sticks to build their hut. Then it says Russ and Gus got mud and grass. So it looks like they used sticks, mud, and grass to build their hut. So that means their hut is going to be made out of sticks, mud, and grass. So the bears built a hut that was made out of sticks, mud, and grass. So their building was a hut, and it was made out of sticks, mud, and grass. Okay, so we've answered our essential question within our story. So now we're going to focus on retelling our story. So remember, when you retell your story, you have to have characters, setting, so who the story was about, where the story took place, and the events, so what happened in the story. So we're going to practice retelling together, and then you guys will go on Seesaw and record yourselves retelling the story. So so here's how we're going to tell it. So there were 3 bears. There's our characters. And they were in the forest setting. There were 3 bears in the forest. There's our character and setting. They were building a hut. After they built their hut, there was a leak in their hut. And the bears fixed the leak with some wood. Okay, so it's simple as that. We had our characters, the 3 bears, the setting, which was in the forest or the woods, and our events. So our events were, they built a hut, there was a leak in the hut, and they fixed the leak in the hut. So remember, those are the 3 things that you're always going to include in your retelling. Characters, setting, and events. So who the story is about, characters. Where the story took place, setting. And the events in the story. So what happened in the story. Okay, friends? So you're going to head on over to Seesaw, and you're going to record yourself retelling what happened in Cubs in a